Starting at 20 years old, just one single dollar can turn into $90 to even $100. Hello and welcome to Growing Up and Growing Well, navigating health and wellness through your 20s. My name is Lauren and this is actually my first ever podcast YouTube collab episode. I really want to create this space for 20-somethings to navigate together through our 20s, whether it's wellness, health, fitness, finance like today, emotional intelligence, relationships, and kind of navigating through all aspects of our lives in our 20s kind of together, and we can kind of knock ideas off of each other. I definitely want to listen to what all of you guys have to say and what you guys want to hear, but yeah, so if that sounds like something you're interested in, make sure you subscribe. Now today we are going to be diving into something that can definitely feel really overwhelming, especially in our 20s, and this is personal finance. At least when I was in high school, no one ever talked to us about personal finance, even though it's such a huge part of our lives. When it comes to personal finance, since we're all in our 20s, this topic can feel really frustrating and confusing because there's so much information out there. It's not like at the end of this I'm going to be like, okay, now just buy this $200 course and you'll be good to go. Like, no, we're going to get all the information out that we need to today, right now. This video is going to cover a very basic level of finance. I really kind of want to give an introduction to finance and simple steps to meet your financial goals. Now don't go anywhere, this title actually wasn't clickbait. I'm going to show you the exact plan that I'm currently on, and if everything goes right and we don't go into like, I don't know, economic crash or anything, by 30 I might just reach millionaire status. Okay, the first thing we are going to be covering is a mindset shift. To be a millionaire, you really need to think like a millionaire. In our 20s, especially this day and age, it's so easy to get caught up in this consumerism world where we're seeing constantly videos, oh, look at my haul, look at this unboxing, look at my fancy car. This is great for short-term satisfaction, but this money is worth so much more by the time we retire and get to the ages of 60, 70, 80, that it's just not worth it right now. It might be worth it when we're 60, 70, 80 to go buy the Maserati, but as of right now, it's just not worth it. Being a millionaire isn't just about having all the money. It really is about the mentality and the habits that we do every single day to set ourselves up for future success. Millionaires share these common traits. They prioritize long-term thinking, they're disciplined, and they embrace the ideas of investing in their future selves. So it's not just about what we can get ourselves right now, it's about giving our future selves this like nice little present that turn into a very, very large present. One key concept to understand is the difference between assets and liabilities. An asset is something that puts money into our pocket, like a job, a real estate investment, or even just a little side hustle. Liability, on the other hand, takes money away from us. Think of a car. As soon as you take it off the lot, it loses, I don't know, $10,000 in value. Along with that is credit card debt. $10 purchase is now $15, $20, $30 purchase. So imagine relocating some of the money that our past selves would have spent on maybe the newest iPhone, or the nice new pair of shoes that are $200, or the Shein haul that you probably aren't going to use, and investing that into a stock. This money is going to continue growing over time, and eventually it might become a very large asset to you. Another part of this mindset shift is really understanding the power of compound interest. You start now in your 20s, a little bit seriously does go a long way. $1 can turn into $80, $90, $100 by the time you retire. The earlier you start, the bigger your pile of money can become. Also, don't underestimate the importance of goal setting. Having clear financial goals will set you up for success. Just having money is not a goal. It's just paper at that point. To have goals and to have dreams and to have aspirations is what makes that money worth something. Whether it's saving for a trip, for a new car, for a home, for an experience, maybe you want to start your new business and you need money to do all these things. Having these goals will create something visual for you to look forward to and make putting this money aside worthwhile. Then take these large goals like going on a $10,000 vacation and break it into smaller, actionable goals. Like maybe every single week you put $20 into the vacation jar. Lastly, we're going to cultivate a mindset of abundance rather than scarcity. There's kind of this stigma around if I make more money, then the person next to me can't make as much money. But this is completely false. You can make just as much money as the person next to you, and you can both grow and grow and grow. Everyone can have money. Everyone can be financially successful. There are plenty of opportunities for you, whether this is job opportunities, investment opportunities, or just ways to earn extra income. Just because you're successful does not mean someone else then cannot be successful. So as we navigate our 20s, we have to remember that the mindset is really the most important thing. Setting up these fundamental habits, goals, and ways of thinking will create this spiral effect and automatic way of thinking about our future selves, rather than just instant gratification. So the first thing I want you to do is write down, like physically on pen and paper, write down your goals, what you want money for. It's not just about having loads of money, because then it doesn't matter. You should have actual goals. For me personally, traveling is such a huge goal of mine, and it takes money. So that's one thing I really want to save for. I really want to be a homeowner. I want to move out. I'm currently living with my family still. So figure out your why to creating this abundance of wealth. Write these goals down and then create actionable steps. And through this video, it'll kind of explain better about these steps, but write down what you think you could do starting now. Along with this, find out what's important for you right now with spending money. We are in our 20s. Some people say this might be the best years of our lives. I've heard that it's more the 30s and 40s really. But find out those things that are important to you right now that you don't want to give up. Maybe this is really being physically active. Maybe this is splurging a little bit on your gym membership. It's okay to have a $30, $40 a month gym membership if this is something that's really important to you right now. Maybe going to concerts is another important thing. Maybe this looks like spending $150 on a ticket instead of $2,000 on a ticket. But a lot of things in your 20s you can do for super cheap. Even traveling, backpacking, staying in hostels, you can do pretty cheap and on a good budget. Things like finding cheap or free activities to do with your friends, like maybe going on hikes or doing little arts and crafts. Stuff like this you can do for free or for cheap that you don't need to splurge on. But maybe in your 50s and 60s, you don't want to stay in hostels. You want to be able to go to these fancy, all-inclusive resorts. And you'll be able to do that because right now you're being just a little bit stingy and really setting yourself up to be able to do that when the time comes. But definitely write down things that are important to you right now that you're okay with spending money on. We don't need to live in a random person's house only eating ramen noodles to achieve these goals. We just need to be smart about it, and just a little really does go a long way when it comes to saving for retirement. Let's talk about budgeting. When it comes to budgeting, I like the 50-30-20 rule, where 50% of your income goes towards your needs, 20% goes to those wants, and the last 30% goes to your savings. A lot of people do it kind of backwards, where 30% is going to your wants and 20% is going to your savings, but I think prioritizing saving right now, Charlie decided to join us. The 30% is so high, our savings rate, because we are young. We get to save on things like living with roommates or living at home or using cheaper cars. So 50 for our needs, 20 for our wants, and 30 for our savings or for our future self. Nowadays, there are so many tools, especially online tools, that can help you budget. There are so many apps and programs that you can set up on your computer or even your phone, and it'll show you where your money's going, and you can set the different percentages, and it really just helps you stay on top of your budgeting so that you don't tap into that 30% savings. So this 50% bucket of your needs are things like rent, gas, your car loan, your groceries. This is not eating out. This is just grocery store bills, medical bills, and things that you just cannot physically live without. Your wants are things like new clothes, new decorations, traveling, having nights out with friends, purchases in general that you really don't need, but you want them. And that's okay, because again, things are important to us right now in our 20s, and it's okay to spend money. It's just that we don't want to spend it all on our wants. So now we have 70% of our budget taken care of, and now we're really going to be diving deep into this 30% bucket for the rest of this episode. So what are you going to do with this savings that you have? First up is an emergency fund. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's a lump of money that is not to be touched unless there is an emergency. This could be paying for an unexpected medical bill or a vet bill. This could look like paying for a new part for your car, like an engine, or maybe your boiler at your house broke. But the most common one is losing your job. So this emergency fund is really for all these expenses and should be compiled of an amount of money that you can live off of for 3 to 6 months. God forbid you're out of work or you lose your job. So the kind of job you have really will determine whether you save up for 3 months or 6 months or even more than that. If you have a job that's easily replaceable, maybe you're a doctor. Hospitals all over the world will hire you. Maybe you only need that 3 months of a savings. But maybe you're, I don't know, an archaeologist where there's not many jobs. Actually, I have no idea what the job market is for archaeologists, but let's just use that as an example. You might want to save more like 6 months because it might take you 6, 7, 8 months to find a new job. Especially when the market for jobs is pretty bad right now, you might want to aim for that higher side. So take your budget that you made earlier and see how much it costs for you to live for 3 to 6 months. Whatever this number is what you should aim for to be in your emergency fund. Now, this could be a huge number depending upon if you have kids or if you live somewhere really expensive and you're spending a lot of money. This number could be $10,000 to like $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. So this is not an easy feat by any means, but it is where you need to start because bad things do happen, unexpected things do happen, and when it rains, a lot of times it pours. If the stock market goes down, that's probably when you would be most likely to lose a job. And then your investments aren't doing well and you don't have a source of income. So things like this tend to topple on top of one another, and this is where your emergency fund could really help give you room so that you don't need to take out a loan maybe and use even more money. So where do we actually put this money? No, we're not just crumpling this money up and throwing it under our bed or in the bottom drawer of our nightstand. In my opinion, the best place to put this money is in a high yield savings account. This is an account you'll have with a bank where they'll actually pay you to have money in there, and it is based off of interest rates. So when I first put my money into a high yield savings account about a year ago, I think I was getting 5.4% interest on my money. So this means whatever money you put into it, you're going to receive 5% back. Right now, I think the interest rates are more like high 3s, low 4s. So you won't be making as much, but it's still beating inflation, which your cash is not beating inflation. I'm personally using Charles Schwab right now. They have one of the higher interest rates and I trust their bank. So put as much money as you can until that max of your 3 to 6 month expenses, and you're gonna let that money sit. And the money is actually gonna grow. So as your spending increases, that'll actually grow with you and you won't have to put as much in every single time. When you do choose a bank though, don't just go chasing the highest interest rate because you're going to probably be jumping from bank to bank to bank, and that does not look good on your part. So just pick one that is reliable, do your research. I think Charles Schwab, Fidelity, Vanguard, and stick with it. It's not worth the hassle of pulling your money out and putting it back in to kind of chase this highest interest rate. So stick with one and either put in a lump sum, which is a large amount of money, or put in $50 every week until you reach that. Once you have set up your emergency fund, first off, congrats, because this could be a really large feat depending upon where you are in your 20s, where your life is at. Just good job, because I know it was hard to put that money away and know that it's really barely working for you and it really isn't doing much and you're not putting it towards anything, but it helps you sleep at night knowing that if something does happen, your butt is covered, at least for 36 months. So now it's time to think about retirement. I know in your 20s you might think I'm a little bit crazy talking about retirement. It seems so far in the future, but that is what is so good about it. Compound interest really means that the younger you start, the better off you'll be for retirement. Starting in your 20s makes it exponentially easier, literally, to reach your retirement goals, and you'll probably exceed those goals if you start so young. Now in your 20s, you might still be in school, you might be working part-time, you might be working full-time. So if you don't have a full-time job and you don't have these 401k benefits yet, just skip over this section and then come back to it when you do have a full-time job. So when you have a full-time job, you should have an employee-sponsored 401k plan. This is a retirement account that you and your employer will be contributing to for your future self. Now the really great thing about these plans is a lot of employers set up what is called a match. So this can look like a dollar to dollar, dollar to 50 cents, dollar to 75-cent match, which means for every dollar that you put into your 401k plan, your employer will also match and put another dollar or 50 cents or 75 cents in. So if it is dollar for dollar, think of it like this. You are making 100% on your investments, because that $1 automatically turns into $2 without even accounting for your investments that will grow that money even more. And this is why this is such an early step. it is because this dollar for dollar match is literally free money. So a common one is dollar for dollar match up to 6% of your income. This is actually a really good one. So up to 6% of your income, your employee will put $1 in for every dollar that you put in to your 401k account. Most of these are with online banks like Vanguard or Fidelity. Mine personally uses Vanguard right now, which I really like because their database is really easy to use. So to do this, your employer will probably send you some sort of link to set up your account with an online bank. There you will set the percentage of your income that you want to contribute into your 401k. So the max you can do is 50%, which I'm currently doing 50% because I just got employed, and then so it won't max out my 401k by the time the year ends because I just started. But this number will be going down to probably 25 or 30 by the time the year ends. Now I know this 50% or even 30% is not attainable for a lot of people, but you should at least try to reach that match. So whatever your employer is going to match, you want to reach that percentage. So if they say, oh, we will give you a $1 match up to 4%, you want to make sure you're contributing at least 4%. You'll be earning over 100% on these investments. But again, I would really try to at least get 20%, and then we can work on the 10% in different areas for our savings to reach that final 30% of our bucket. But make sure you actually go a step further once you're in this account and make sure you're actually investing your money. I would recommend going super simple and doing a target date retirement fund where you're going to be taking the most risk right now, and by the time you're close to retirement, your risk will decrease and decrease and decrease. So this means right now we'll be having mostly stocks in our mix, which are more risky, and then by the time we're closer to retirement, we will have more bonds in our mix because those are way less risky and our money is more guaranteed because we're going to be closer to taking that money out, and we really don't want the stock market to, go down at that time, and then we're kind of stuck not having as much money as we could have had. Also, you can choose a lot of times between a traditional 401k where your money is taken out pre-tax or a Roth 401k, which is a newer retirement account. This account, you take your money out after it is taxed. However, when you go to take it out, it won't be taxed. So because we are the youngest we'll ever be, there's also a good chance that we are in the lowest tax bracket we'll ever be. So if we pay for our taxes up front, then we get a huge tax advantage by the time we are 60, 65, 70 when we go to take it out. And hopefully we're in higher tax brackets because that means we were making more money. So we got our emergency fund, and now we are investing into a 401k where the bulk of our savings is going to be going. The next thing I want to talk about is a Roth IRA. Again, this is a newer concept and it is basically tax-free money. So Roth IRA is a government-funded account that allows you to put money in and take it out tax-free. As of right now, I believe the contribution limit is $6,500. If you're above the age of 50, I think, you can put in $7,500, something like that. So that's the limit that you can put in every single year. Now, there's a reason that the government limits this so much, and it's because this money can become really powerful, especially considering there aren't taxes. So if you can just put even a little bit of money into this Roth IRA every single year, it's going to grow tax-free, which is really awesome. If you can try to max out this account every single year, it's seriously going to make such a huge difference for you in the future. Another cool thing about it that actually just changed is that you can actually use money from a 529 and roll it over into a Roth IRA. So 529 is a savings account for students. So maybe your parents saved up money for your college in a 529. If they did and you didn't use all that money, you can actually roll it over into a Roth IRA up to that $7,000 or $6,500 limit. The next thing I want to talk about is big purchasing decisions. This is a big thing in our 20s. There's a lot of change going on. Maybe you're moving into a new apartment. Maybe you're even moving into a new house. You might need a new car. You might need to furnish a whole apartment or a whole house. And it's really easy to want to try to keep up with the Joneses. By the way, the Joneses are dirt poor, as if you haven't caught on to that yet. And it's really easy to get caught up on these trends, especially because of social media. You might see that one person your age is getting a brand new Lamborghini and another person is getting a house and another person. Just remember that you do not need to emulate each of these people and have all of these things, because chances are they're either house poor or car poor now. So let's talk about one of the main ones, which is buying a car. One rule of thumb that I really like, full credit to the Money Guys. Go watch them. They have a podcast and I think a YouTube as well. And this is a 23-8 rule, which states that you should put at least 20% down on your car, finance it for no more than 3 years or 36 months, and your car payments every single month should not exceed 20% of your gross income. I'm pretty sure they even have an online tool that you can calculate this all, and it makes it really easy to see how much car you can afford. Remember, cars are a depreciating asset, aka a liability, and in our 20s, a car should just be something that is safe and reliable transportation to get us to our job. So when you lay out this rule and see how much car you can afford, you might find that you can really only afford an old, like, purple car on the lot that you really don't like, but it's safe and it's reliable and it gets you to your job and it does the job. I think getting a car seems really glamorous and exciting. Again, it's just 4 wheels and it gets you to work. Especially in our 20s, it's so not worth buying a nice car. Also, this rule does not apply to buying luxury cars. If you're buying a luxury car, you need to be able to pay for it in cash. End of discussion. If you think that you can afford a luxury car and you need to take out a loan, you cannot afford the luxury car. So next is home buying or renting, which is a big thing in our 20s. As a 20-something, you might still be living at home, you might be living at college, you might be living with roommates in an apartment, you might be living in an apartment on your own, or you might be living in a house. Or renting a house. So this could really be all over the place, but there really is one rule that works for all of them. Specifically, if you're looking for a home in your 20s, you should have your mortgage payments not exceed 25% of your gross income. Whatever your paycheck says before tax every month, no more than 25% of this money should be going towards your monthly payments. And that'll kind of help you decide how much home you can afford. How much do we put down? A lot of books that I've read and a lot of podcasts and videos that I've listened to, even in school, they say put 20% down on a home. But in our 20s, is it really worth that? Because our investment power of time is so present, where again, $1 could equal $80, $90 by the time we retire, sometimes it's better to have our money grow than to put it into a home. So if this is your first home, okay, to just put 3 to 5% down on your home, because as long as you're investing that extra money and it's going towards your future self, because this money is a lot more powerful than the money that could potentially be going into your home as a down payment. So you're moving into your second home or third home, that's when you should really be putting down 20%. Now let's talk about renting. While renting might seem like a complete waste of money, you're kind of throwing money out the window and you're not receiving value as if you were to own a home. Sometimes it's the only option and it's what's going to make you mentally sane, because living at home is no longer an option. So if you are renting, try to keep your rent under 20% of your gross income. Now I know this is completely unattainable if you're living someplace like New York City, where you can't find an apartment for less than like $4,000. But this is where we kind of move our budget. Maybe if you're living in New York City, your rent is super high, but you don't need a car and you're just gonna use public transportation or walking. So now you can use that 8% that you were going to use on a car and put it towards your rent. So you might need to find other ways to save or even increase your income to afford places like New York City or LA. So just a quick rundown before we go into our last segment. We are first coming up with our why. Why is this money so important? Then we're coming up with a budget. How is this money going to be allocated? Then we are going to set up an emergency fund in a high yield savings account. Then we are going to use a 401k and at least, at a minimum, meet that monthly match, whether it's 4, 5, or 6%. But ideally, we want to have 20% in there or more. Then we want to contribute to a Roth IRA or even max it out if we can. Then we want to make sure our big purchases are being purchased smartly. We're not going crazy on a car and we're following the 23-8 rule. And when it comes to buying homes or renting, we're staying under that 25 or 20% of our gross income. So with all of this said, let's get into actual numbers and let's see how becoming a millionaire by the end of our 30s is completely possible. This is all going to be hypothetical. I get that a lot of this is intangible for a lot of people. I'm kind of basing it off a little bit of my situation and where I am currently, but this might not be possible for you, but there's other places that maybe I'm lacking, but you're abundant in, that you can kind of get these numbers to work for you. So let's start with the 401k plan. Let's say you're starting with a salary of $65,000, and from age 20 to 24 you live at home, and so you have very little expenses, and you can save 50% of your income in your 401k. And then after 24 you move out, and now you have real expenses, so you're only contributing 25% at that point. Now let's use a typical employer match where they match up to 6% of your income with an annual return of 8%. At just 30 years old, you would have $500,000 in your 401k, which is actually so insane. Now what if we did more? What if we also funded and maxed out our Roth IRA? By 30, you would have about $100,000 in this account. Now by the time you reach the end of your 30s, aka 39 years old, your 401k would be worth over $800,000, and your Roth IRA would be worth just under $300,000, pushing you into millionaire status. At 39, before you even turn 40, you'd be a millionaire. Now I know these numbers are completely random. Maybe you make way more than that, maybe you make way less than that. Maybe you're starting at 20, maybe you're starting at 25. Wherever you are, there's ways to catch up or get ahead. First off, just you listening to this video tells me you're ahead. Whether you can save that 50% of your income, or you can only save 5% of your income, it's okay, because you are so young and you have so many years of compound interest to work on your side. So to finally recap, set up an emergency fund of 3 to 6% of your income. This will be in a high yield savings account where you'll actually be earning money on it. And don't touch it unless you must. Then invest in your employee sponsored 401k, at least the match, and ideally 20 to 25% of your income. Don't forget to actually invest this money. Then fund your Roth IRA. A little will go a long way in this type of an account, but try to max out if you can. That would be absolutely awesome. Then follow the 23/8 rule when buying a car, and stay under 20 to 25% of your gross income going towards your mortgage or your rent. And lastly, understand this power of compound interest. A little goes such a long way when it comes to finances because we are so young. So do what you can now and watch that money just grow. You'll be amazed. Play with the little calculators online. I love doing this and seeing where, oh, maybe if I increase my savings by 2%, look how much more money I would have by the time I'm 60 or 65. What would it look like if I do early retirement? What would it look like if I increase my income by just 2%? There's a lot of tools out there that can really help you. So I encourage you to play with those and really get passionate about what investing can do for you when it comes to you and your future. I'll be talking about so many things on this channel, not just about investments or about money. I'll be talking about wellness and fitness, emotional well-being, just as a whole navigating our 20s, and I want it to be a real community that we can all work together and build the best decade of our year that we can. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you have a great day. Bye!